All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited for tonight's call. We have Gilbert Abraham, who I met actually at Duke University. We were both coaching back there in the summertime in the dorm, hanging out, and we had some great conversations. And Gilbert just shared a lot of knowledge with me. I felt like I learned a lot just being down the hall from him. He had a bunch of material that he shared with me. So a lot of good information. So I'm excited for you guys tonight to get to learn a little bit. Gilbert, we really appreciate you joining. Looking forward to our conversation.
Oh no, likewise, man. I'm really honored, to be here, and likewise, man. You struck me as a wonderful person, full of character and passion for not only game but for human beings and for this human experience we're all going through. So I just wanted to thank you for thinking of me and wanting me on. So
absolutely, I thought very highly of you then, and I've been watching. Like I mentioned, watching from afar, seeing all the good stuff you're doing. So, the X Factor, what do you got going on tonight? What are you out doing?
Hey, man. Well, we just got back to practice, so I got some good work in today in the gym, which feels great to be back, especially after those 4 months of, not necessarily being able to get in the gym and actually get up shots. So that was a blessing, get in the weight room too, get bigger. I've been, to be honest, feeling a little bit small lately, so I'm happy to get back in the gym. Put a couple weights up, otherwise just enjoying Sweet Home Chicago. Like I said, I'm back. I've been back for about the past 2 weeks. And, working my internship, getting my work in. And, on Wednesday and Sunday nights, do this little podcast called Be Minor in the X Factor.
I know, I love it. I definitely look forward to this because we're getting to talk to some guys that know what they're talking about. We have some awesome guests coming up, but we have a great one tonight. So if you're watching, you're in the right place. So Gilbert, maybe take us through a little bit kind of your background, your playing, and then kind of akin and how you kind of got started in where you're at now, or how you got started and then how you ventured to where you're at now.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just start from the beginning. My family is heritage-wise Nigerian. My dad was a diplomatic official, was born in Germany, and, through a turn of events, we ended up here in the U.S., and so I grew up in the D.C., Maryland area, and then ended up going to college at St. Andrews, which is a Division II school. I played 4 years there, had up and downs, tore my ACL. I think this is the start of my redshirt freshman year. And as I tell all the athletes I work with, it's probably one of the best things that ever happened to me was getting injured like that in terms of what it taught me. It taught me I was a lot more than just an athlete. I learned to take the weight room dead serious. And, I can show you some of these pictures in here, but I went from, maybe 150, 155, something like that as a freshman. It was really bouncy and athletic, but I went from that to like 195 and something like, a year basically, and transformed my body and grew. That's kind of how everything started as far as the basketball is concerned. And then after that, I was getting my master's degree, and while I was getting my master's degree in public administration, I started an AU basketball team, basically, a travel team. And I ran that by myself for about 4 years, basically in rural North Carolina with a bunch of kids that, no one really took serious or thought that they would be very good. And I did that for about 4 years. And then shortly after that, when I stopped coaching, several of those kids I ended up helping to get in college. But that was like the breeding ground and what taught me how to manage large groups of kids and taught me how to train because there was really no expectations. So most of the church vans and the community here, they let me use their church vans, and I was picking up kids at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and doing breakfast clubs every morning, just driving around. I was young. I was 23. I was just driving around picking up kids. We were going to the gym, and we'd lift, cardio, skill work. And at the time, I didn't know that it was a profession. To me, it was just practice. And, my wife at the time, still wife, she was extremely supportive of me throughout that entire process. And I got to really hone my skill and learn how to manage large groups of people and all different types of kids. And so I got my first coaching position shortly after that at Fayetteville State. And, we won the CIAA championship, which is a conference tournament here. And then, my wife got pregnant with our first child. And basically, thanks, man. And basically what happened from there was the life of basketball coach is very different. And a lot of the pros and different people were coming to work out with me at Fayetteville State. So I ended up having, we started off with just the players, but we ended up having a lot of professionals in the area come and start training with me during those breakfast clubs. And we would lift hard for an hour, about 30 minutes of hard cardio. And then that's how I started to develop kind of my philosophy in regards to skill development. And that was kind of around the time that I met you. It was after I was transitioning from Fayetteville State. And and then basically what happened from there is my name kind of grew and spread. And then that's when I started to pick up NBA players. So I got Raymond Felton, and then, I got connected with all the UNC guys. And then basically for the last, 10 years, that's basically what I've been doing now. So now I've worked with, several agencies doing their pre-draft. Now I'm, a clinician is doing stuff internationally, working with the Czech Basketball Federation, and I'm the skill development director presently for Get Better Academy. And we have 2 professional teams that I help coach and do the skill development for, and then also the youth program as well. So over the last 2 years, we've basically helped, I think it's about 25 kids play college basketball, here in the U.S. And I've been home now, I think, for about 2 weeks back here in North Carolina, but I'm just getting back from Europe. So yeah, I'm missing a whole lot, but that's kind of what's kind of been going on in my world, over the last few years.
That's incredible.
That's awesome. That's really cool, right? I mean,
awesome. And I mean, like the lives that you've touched along the way, and, the young people who, like you said, you had the AAU program for kids that, maybe weren't getting looked at as much, were getting overlooked, kind of slept on. And, what you were able to do for them, even just the experience, let alone getting so many people to college, man, that's amazing. That's really a dream come true. So that's remarkable and extremely admirable.
I mean, yeah, man. I mean, I'm proud of just like the relationships and seeing people transform. It's like a drug, man. Like you see somebody like become different, and really transform. It's the most exciting thing, I mean, the only thing I would compare that to is if you ever get the opportunity to work with somebody for an extended period of time, and then, this is 2017 NBA draft, like to be able to sit in the green room and hear the player you worked with have their name called. There's nothing like that. Like, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now, but it's like, and I say it all the time, I'll be back. I keep telling everybody I'm coming back. I'll be back. I want to sit in that room and hear that again, because it was, I mean, obviously it transformed, Justin Jackson's life and his family's life and all of that. But to be able to know that I played a role in that is priceless. It's a great feeling. It's a lifelong work, Yeah.
I think that's amazing about being a coach. That's something that's just seeing your players be more successful than they thought they could be.
Yeah.
And I know that's, for me, so much more rewarding for me to see, the accolades that I might get. I'd rather, it's so much more rewarding when you see your players have that kind of aha moment and then realize that they can achieve more and then be successful beyond basketball too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know you mentioned a little bit about your philosophy on training. Can you give us a little bit of just kind of an overview without getting the secret sauce, but what's your kind of thoughts about and the philosophy behind your training program?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't think there's anything new under the sun. It's just, what is it? Just different combinations of what's been done, So it's, I think, very basically just to share in regards to philosophy, I believe basically that, skill development has to become something that, if it's done in proper stages at a certain level, becomes autonomous. Like the athlete, the player can just make certain reads and recognition of certain things and then apply them right away. But the way that I kind of do it is, this is just the broad overview. First is, if you're not in shape, you're not going to be a good basketball player. So strength, really, really focused strength work. especially that's focused on what you do. Because a lot of, I think, what get lost in a lot of skill work is oftentimes people don't understand body types. And so depending on the type of body you have, usually will dictate the type of job or the type of position or the type of play that you have to play. So for an example, Kevin Durant isn't necessarily going to play just like LeBron James. They might be similar in height, but very different body types, very different types of skill level that they kind of have to have in order to be effective. They're both great players, but they're different. And so forth and so on. And so what they do in the weight room, what their focus is, the attention to detail they put on certain things has to be different if we're going to get, if you're going to help an athlete be the best version of themselves, which is my goal. Every player make them the best version of themselves. That's the first thing. So strength. Next, obviously, is conditioning, being able to be in shape as far as running, et cetera, cardiovascular shape. Then after that is what I basically call skill-based training. So skill-based training is your ability to pass, shoot, dribble, and those are they're very basic. But the higher level the player is at being able to pass, shoot, and dribble, the higher level they can play at. And it sounds very simple, but you can look at most NBA championship teams, and the really, really special teams have the most players that can pass, shoot, and dribble. And obviously, they have defensive versatility, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, so you think about the Golden State Warriors when they were at their peak, and they had, the 2015, I want to say Golden State Warriors. 10 deep, everybody could pass, shoot, and dribble, and defend multiple positions, probably with the exception of Curry, right? So just to give you some context in that regard. So there's that. And then after that, which is big for me, is action-based skill development. So action-based skill development for me is, basically are players proficient out of every situation that they might be put in. And so I really, really, dive deep into that. So something simple like pick and roll, I believe every player should be able to operate in 5 levels. You usually hear people say 3-level score. I'm a big guy on 5-level score. So 5 levels is, can you score at the rim? Can you score in floater range, which is like, 5 to 10 feet, mid-range, the 3-point line. And then lastly, can you shoot from gravity? Gravity is like, basically being able to shoot 2 or 3 feet behind the 3-point line. Can you score from there? And so there are not a lot of guys that are 5-level scorers. And I would argue most of the even the good college players are usually like 2 or 3-level scorers at best. You don't have anybody that's pulling up 2 or 3 feet behind the line comfortably, consistently. And most players don't have a real, the floater range is probably the hardest thing to learn, but it's the one thing that I think usually keeps most point guards from really being elite, is that they don't really have that type of ability to really finish, because the higher levels you go to, the harder it is to finish in the restriction area, the harder it is to get there, and the harder it is to finish there. So you're going to be stopped before you get there. And can you be efficient at that range? Scoring and making decisions. And so that intermediate area is hard. So anyway, so I digress, but that basically is, is just to give you a little idea. That's kind of the idea. So like with pick and roll, say for example, every read, as far as scoring is concerned, you have to be able to score from all 5 of those levels. And so with my training, that's what I'm basically focusing on. So if I reject a pick, rejecting a rim, reject floater, reject mid-range pull-up, reject 3, being able to reject and get all the way back out to gravity and pull up from there. Using the pick, snaking the pick, fake snaking the pick, splitting, right? If somebody hard hedges or hard shows, right? Can you split? Can you attack the hip? And doing all of these things. And it sounds simple, but it is hard to do with the right footwork and to do it correctly. And so that's action-based skill development. And I could do this through every type of action, pin downs, tight pin downs, dribble handoffs, flares, whatever, right? And then the last thing is small-sided games, because if you can't apply any of this, it doesn't matter. And basically putting athletes in all versions of these small-sided games and getting them to be able to make these decisions, live. So I really want to lock in great footwork and really teach them how to do everything from a movement standpoint. And then the small-sided games, are bike riding time and experimentation and being able to apply. So that's a big focus for me is that. So, and then after that, stretching and film. And so that's the process, that's the philosophy. I know it's a lot, but for me personally, like, if I can get a player that's around 9th to 10th grade and I can consistently do this process and they have some talent, I have not had success. I've never not been able to get that player to play at a high level. It's never not happened, if they've done this consistently, if they have some talent, if they have positional size and they have some talent. I have, many players that have played Division I basketball and now players that are, pushing towards the NBA ranks or in the NBA now.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I think two huge things that I took from that is one, basketball IQ, and two, cardio. Because I feel like when I talk to people from my city that are rec legends, right? They've been going to the rec their whole lives and they think that they know everything about basketball. And they'll be the first people to tell you, oh my goodness, I could have played at college easily and I could have been in the NBA easily. Meanwhile, these are the same people. I'm not going to say they're not skilled because they are skilled. They can put the ball in the basket and they can dribble and they can do these things. First of all, can you play a 40-minute structured basketball game in college? Probably not. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to do very well. Okay, this isn't just running up and back and, deciding when you want to play defense. We're not at the rec anymore. This is structured ball. And forget about the pro level. Now we're talking about something even different. And two, do you know when to reject the ball screen? Do you know when to run what play? Do you know what to do against what defense? There's so many different aspects of it. So I really do appreciate that you're, bringing light to that because that's so, so, so important. People think that they can just go out there and if they can hoop, then they can hoop at a high level. That's not the case.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Let me ask you about the part that we didn't really touch on there. I know the mentality. Talk to us a little bit about being around NBA guys, pros. Talk to us a little bit about their mental preparation.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think overall, probably the biggest thing that I think people don't really realize in regards to that is anybody who these are the best 400 people at this in the world. That's the first thing. They're the best 400 people that do this in the world. And they all are maniacally competitive at everything. It doesn't matter if it's cards. It doesn't matter if it's video games. It doesn't matter if it's walking down the street or even how we stand on the wall. Everything is a type of competition. And that is probably the biggest thing that I think I've kind of taken away from that. I'm, one of the few people that's gotten to sit in be around Michael Jordan and be in the Jordan Brand box and spend time with his family. And everything is a competition. And, all throughout these years being with these different NBA players, and most of them don't really know how to cut it off. If they're playing Uno, they're playing to win. If they're playing, 2K, they're trying to find a play to win. And the biggest thing I think I would take away from that is I don't think most athletes, especially young athletes, understand how much that plays into being successful. Is making sure that you understand the value of competition and then training that muscle, training that processing to basically try to find ways to dominate and to win all the little small games that you have, the small interactions that you have, because it translates. And there are players that are they may have an athlete that's not as talented as somebody else, or not even close, but they understand how to compete and their focus level is at such a level that it translates. A guy that I'll give you an example of is Fred VanVleet. Monster competitor. He's not the fastest. He's not the strongest. Monster competitor. Mike, and if, for a lot of you, if you watch this, you're listening, watch him closely. Everything he does is done at the highest level of competition because he wants to win. And he's getting everything out of his body. The guy dropped 36 the other day, and he's a 6'2" guard right now, which is crazy to think about. And anyway, but that to me is big, this competition, do you compete all the time? I was playing Uno with my daughter you know, and she's busting my tail, man, and I'm mad, you know, because I'm trying to find a way to win. But it's a healthy game because I'm teaching my kids, hey, like you have to find a ways to compete. And this quarantine time has definitely been helpful in that regard.
Absolutely. I got a quote here, Coach, that I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about. Until the Lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunt.
Oh man.
Found
Yeah.
that one that I think Chinu Achebe.
Chibi, yeah. So
Um,
he's a Nigerian author. And
yeah, that's just an interesting. I mean, because it's so true. The history books are written by the victors, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, basically, obviously, with all the social justice stuff that's going on now, none of this is new. You know, it's historic. But basically, the whole point of that is, especially in Nigeria, there's long histories of of civil strife there, just like the rest of the world, and discord and so forth. But for me, just thinking about what's going on here in the U.S., there's a project called the 1619 Project that uh, Dr. Hannah Jones, Nicole Hannah Jones is her name, and she developed this 19 project, where basically it talks about you had the first, the story of basically a retelling of the story of African Americans basically in the U.S. And how it actually started in 1619. The first group of black people were brought then, and it struck me as very profound work. She won the Pulitzer Prize for it, and it's something that's been disseminated across schools all over the world now, in regards to telling what that story looks like and what the dichotomy of it all was. And so so the quote was basically about the fact that it's like, the victors of history, the winners of history, they write the narrative, they write the story. And until people, take the time to write their own narrative and tell things from their perspective, you'll never know about the lion story. You'll just know about the hunters.
I think that's so relevant right now. I just feel like that there's people that are ignorant and don't feel like there is injustice or inequalities, and I'm like, there's no neutral. You're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution.
Yeah.
I don't have a very big platform, but I'm using my platform that I can to try to just listen and educate and have other people listen, I guess, just because if you listen to what people are saying, then you can't deny that they're hurting. That's fact.
And I mean, this is all about empathy and, connecting in a human experience, and it's like, if I see you as a human being and I recognize you as being somebody that's like me, then I can connect with you. I can build with you. I can grow with you. I can see where you're hurting and I can empathize and see your perspective. But if you look at somebody and you don't even recognize them as being a human being, and you can't recognize their side of the world or their side of this human experience, it's very, very difficult, to really have any type of understanding if you can't at least put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And, I think it starts there.
Empathy. I think empathy is an emotion. It's underrated. People think that they can, I understand. I don't understand. I've never been black. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I understand what it's like or try to shift it back onto me. This is not about that. It's listening, it's hearing, it's like you said, empathizing and trying to listen, even though I know I'll never fully understand. I want to hear what my friends, and I think basketball is such a unifying game that it brings people of different races, religions, nationalities, right?
In the world, man. Without question.
Do you have Akin Athletics? Tell us a little bit about that and kind of the mentality or the warrior flow. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Akin is a Yoruba word, and so basically that's my son's middle name. So Akin in Yoruba means warrior. So basically it's like warrior athletics, right? And so What happened, actually, it's interesting. So one of the guys I was working with when I was at Fayetteville State, his name is Ariel Robinson, and all he was a shooter at Fayetteville State, which is a school in the CIAA Division II school, but they played at a really, really high level. And basically, the season was over, and he started training with me doing these breakfast clubs that I was talking about. Excuse me. And so he made the Panamanian national team. So basically, we spent about 2 months preparing for him to go and play for the Panamanian national team. This guy was a two-guard. He had 1 or 2 games where he did some remarkable stuff. I think he hit like 6 or 7 threes in one game, but just lights out shooter. This guy had to learn how to handle a ball and potentially play combo or some point for the Panamanian national team. And I want to say Gary Harris was the other top player that was on that team. So to make a long story short, he ends up playing against J.J. Barea and Luis Scola, all these guys in Latin America and in the FIBA games, and they end up knocking out Canada. And I forgot how many years ago it was, but it was a big, big deal. And so, as another feather in my cap is spending all this time with him, training him and stuff. And and then basically, so what happened was during one workout, he, because I was really developing this process, weight room, cardio, skill work, action-based, stretch, film, boom, boom, boom. Every day we were doing this at about 5 o'clock. We go from 5 to like 7 or 8 o'clock, like just after it. And one day we were doing this drill. So Coach Capel at the time, so not the Coach Capel that was at Duke, but his father. So his father had got let go by the Bobcats. And so he was Larry Brown's assistant there. And basically I spent the whole summer with us at Fayetteville State. And I was learning everything from this guy, like taking copious notes. This is the same summer I met you, Brent. The exact same summer. So he brought Larry Brown's playbook. He brought all these DVDs and resources. And like, I swear to you, I had like a basketball explosion, as far as like content.
That's how I felt after I met you, man. It was like you had all this stuff that you shared with me, and then processing it and filtering it. It was a process to just get through all of it, but I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what happened with me with him. And so anyway. So all this is going on. So all this is going on. I'm training him and everything. And so he basically is like, yo, he's like, I'm in a flow. He says, this is that warrior flow. And I said, you know what? I like that. I really like that. And then basically that's how it was born. So then I talked with my mom, and then I remembered I always loved that name, Akin. And Noelle was pregnant. My wife was pregnant at the time. And so bam, that's how it all kind of fit together. So warrior flow. And then I ended up learning more about flow state, because basically what I'm describing is flow state. And so there's a book by Stephen Kotler. He had 2 books. One is Finding Superman is the first book. And then the other book that he wrote was Stealing Fire. And both of those books are basically just about what it is when you get into this flow state, and I don't know if you have any anime fans, but the Avatar, when he goes into that mode, but it's like, what basically happens whenever, you're operating at your highest peak, the best version of yourself. And, if Steph Curry's in a game and, when he gets that big head mode, like NBA Jam, and his head's on fire, what it looks like, but every player has a version of that. Every human being has a version of that, and in his books, he describes what it is for a mom who is basically like managing a group of kids and doing all this work. And, you could, I mean, like if anybody who's married, like, that's a lot to manage. I have 3 kids and my wife is holding this stuff down for me. Like, that's hard. It's not easy. And the fact that she has it so automized and prepared, like that she's in a flow state, and I can see it when she's in that flow state, cooking, managing, doing this, doing that. Like, so anyway, sorry, I know this is a crazy tangent, but yeah,
no,
this
I
is.
love it, man. I could love it for a long time, man. I'm soaking this in, and I feel you about the mom flow state. Like, I only have one, so I'm just prayers up, and your wife's a saint, and I appreciate you taking some time. Hopefully the kids are in bed and but it's it is difficult to be a parent, especially if you have three. You can't go man to man anymore.
No, man, they outnumber us, man. Like we gotta stick together with those little rascals.
Gotta go to the zone. Gotta go to the zone. What else do you have that's kind of helped motivate you? Do you have other, like, give us like a saying or a phrase, or do you have like a mantra, or what?
Yeah,
give us a little bit of something there.
Well, I mean, a lot of the stuff I do with PGC, I usually share a poem. It's called Invictus, and I don't know if you know Invictus is it's Latin for unconquerable.
Mandela, or is that the movie?
Yeah. So anyway, so I'll package it for you and then I'll share it with you. So basically, the first, so I usually tell two stories around Invictus. You know, so the first thing is, so the poet, his name is William Ernest Henley, a British poet, I think back in the 1600s. He was suffering from Pott's disease. He was suffering from Pott's disease, and basically that's cancer of I think of the bone marrow or the bone, right? And he had it on his leg, and basically what happened is he had to get his leg amputated, and so while this is going on, he writes. Yeah, look, you looked at you with the baby and the kids. That's beautiful, man. Right on time. Sorry,
I couldn't help but smile.
Maggie came strolling in here right on time, right?
Yeah. So anyway, so he has to get his leg amputated. So he writes this poem about, you know, how he has an unconquerable soul, despite what he's going through, the fact that he might die, and the fact that he's going to get his leg cut off. That in the midst of circumstance, he will not wince nor cry aloud. Like, the poem has so much. I mean, I'll share the words with you in a second, but it has so much power and meaning, right? So then, fast forward, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela is incarcerated for 27 years in a 3-foot by 3-foot jail cell, where he gets 1 hour of daylight a day, or excuse me, a week. 1 hour. The rest of the time, he's in a 3-foot by 3-foot cell for 27 years, like context. And he recited this poem to himself every day. So anyway, so it's on my Instagram. I'll send it to you. One of the courses that we share, I shared it at, but I shared the story throughout the week. So it's like, people, I want them to understand how powerful this poem was, what it meant to different people. And so basically the poem, it goes like this. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And yeah, man.
Wow.
That's
powerful.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm like, at these sessions, there's 100 athletes, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, and yeah, it was dope. It was dope. But yeah, that's like my mantra. No matter how hard it gets, I'm gonna prevail. I'm gonna find a way.
That goes to speak just how powerful this can be. You know what I'm saying? At any given time, no matter what we're going through, like right now, we're going through a national pandemic, a global pandemic, and this is what I tell people all the time. Like, this right here can save you from that. Because you can take your reality, perception is reality. So, like, you can take it as, like, man, this sucks. Or you can take it as, I'm going to make the most of this. And that poem speaks wonders to it, man. That's amazing. That's powerful.
Yeah, appreciate that, man.
That is, thanks for sharing that with me. I looked it up. I mean, I am the master of my fate, and I am captain of my soul. Yeah. I mean, that's just, especially when you're going through something that a lot of people would just give up, right? Yeah. Like, just quit. Just stop living. And the fact that Nelson Mandela lived, it was as a political prisoner, ideologies, and that's what was keeping him in jail. And he wasn't going to free himself because he wasn't going to say what he didn't believe just to try to get himself out. he was going to stand for what's right, even if that meant that he had to squat or live in darkness and in a jail cell. Like, that's just, man, that just gives me goosebumps, right?
30 years.
That's a long
years.
time.
Yeah, man.
I haven't even been alive that long.
But when Nelson Mandela walked from, wasn't he walking from prison, but he was also like the people worshiped him and he was in prison still, but the people of South Africa celebrated him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, his story has been quite chronicled, he's one of the, it's hard to describe, but it's like, when somebody, has dedicated their life for the betterment of their people. And when you come out of that system, that apartheid system, how vicious it was and, how it was structured, he fought it tooth and nail. So not only was he revered, but he was celebrated, by all of his people and not everybody, obviously, but by a lot of people. And, it's wild to see, but, he gets released and you spend 30 years in that type of situation. And you come out of that still loving and wanting to unite people and bring them together and then become the president of your country. That's special. I mean, there are not many stories like that. Not many.
That is a special story to fight for that long and then to come out and the end of apartheid. I mean, and that's where he made strides. We're making strides right now, but this isn't even close to it's not even close, right? Like people say, oh, well, we ended slavery here and we ended the separation here and the desegregated schools. And so it's equal. It's like, no, not really equal. We've kind of had a little bit of a head start.
Yeah. I mean, it's, any group of oppressed people, the process, by which went into oppress them, it usually takes just as much time to undo the harm that's been done. And, it's, there's been quite a bit here in the U.S. and, it's for a lot of people, I don't think they just comprehend. We're not that far removed, from what's transpired. I mean, you still have, there are people that knew slaves that live, put that, we should probably put that into context, so it's not that far removed.
Indentured servanthood. I mean, that, where, oh, you don't have any money here, I'll give you food, but then you're in debt to me.
Yeah.
And then you have to work this whole month to pay it off at a crazy interest rate. Yeah. And then, at the end of the month, you give me all your money. Oh, you don't have money for food. Here, I'll spot you some. But you're going to be basically, I mean, it's indentured servanthood is basically, the same.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you opening up and sharing some of that with us. And I love to hear about your philosophy on training and the action-based skill development. Talking about the 5 levels was something that I thought was really interesting. Just thinking about that there is a different level to it. I love that you talked about being competitive in everything. And that's something that we talk a lot about to our guys is if you're not competing, if you don't want to win, you're going to have a hard time making it where I coach, because we compete in every drill, everything's timed, everything's scored, and we want to win.
That's dope. Look, I might have to make it on out there to Oregon, man, and check you out, Brent.
Hey, we averaged 104 a game. We play an up-tempo, fun style of basketball.
That's awesome.
That's a lot of points. That's a lot of buckets.
Yeah.
We averaged 104, and we weren't very good. So we play. It's a unique style, but it's fun. It's intense, up-tempo for sure. So the system, man. We're running and gunning and trapping. There's never an easy pass. So it's fun. You'll have to check it out on Synergy.
No, I definitely will. Look, I might actually do that right after we get off the phone. I'm a Synergy nut, by the way. So
I bet you're good. I bet you spend some time on Synergy. You get your money's worth out of that account.
Too much. Yeah, man.
I appreciate you sharing that Invictus poem with us and talking a little bit about Nelson Mandela and the apartheid and all the stuff that has gone on and continues to go on. You know, you say we're not that far removed. We're not really removed almost. I mean, there's so much just built up to say that we're removed. I still think there's a lot of injustices. I mean, I think of it's like a 400-meter relay, and we're both running, but I get a 200-meter head start. It's not really fair. You know, I have a better chance of winning. Even though we're both running now, it's still a little different race.
Yeah. No,
Well, definitely want to stay in touch. I'm excited. It's awesome. Get back in that green room, coach. Get some more of these kids that you're mentoring. Get them to the league. Keep developing players. It's awesome to see you turn your passion into a profession, because I know how much you love hoops, and you've definitely worked, and you have an amazing wife who's supported you, because I know when you get started in this coaching profession, it's not the most lucrative profession.
No, I mean,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just me, but I have a feeling I'm not wrong on this one.
No, you're not wrong. And, you know, I tell anybody who's aspiring or looking to, you know, get in basketball beyond playing, you know, you have to be willing to suffer for what it is that you want, you know, and I use that suffer word, you know, if anybody knows, I mean, you might have to sleep in your car a few nights, you know, you might have to do some things, you know, that are uncomfortable, but you have to, you know, you have to give to get, you know, and sacrifice is what it takes.
You got to give to get. I'm writing that down. My hand was starting to hurt, Coach. I was just taking notes like crazy, but I love you talking about the Akin and the Warrior flow state. The lion, it's not the fastest. That's the cheetah. It's not the tallest. That's the giraffe. It's not the biggest. It's not the strongest, but it's mentality that makes the lion the king.
Facts only.
I love it, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate you taking some time to hop on with us tonight. I know you definitely made an impact on me from that first time we met back there at Duke. And like I said, I've been kind of following you and staying in touch and watching your Twitter and seeing you do all this good stuff. So I'm definitely really happy, and it couldn't happen to a guy that I respect anymore. So keep grinding, man. Stay hungry. I know you'll stay humble, but keep working out there, man. I love seeing it.
I appreciate you. Hey, look, and now I got a kid at Duke. I forgot to even mention that, you know, so.
Which you got a guy coming in or one that's already there?
Joey Baker.
Oh, Joey Baker.
Oh, man, that's your guy?
Yeah, he's been my guy since he was in 9th grade, yeah. Yeah.
That's huge, man. He's a bucket.
Yeah.
He's a bucket. Kudos for that, man. That's a ball player right there.
Yeah. That's fam, man. He's texting me right now. So
I love it, man.
Speaking of which,
keep sending him to that Durham. Get him out of Chapel Hill. I know you're kind of a Chapel Hill guy.
Hey, man. You know, so it's him and Chase Jeter was the other one. You know, he worked out once he got here, but no.
If you make it out to Las Vegas, because Chase is out in Las Vegas now. Is that right?
Yeah, training, getting ready. Yeah, hopefully trying to get
ready.
Something else. Yeah, but yeah, I don't discriminate when it comes to these colleges, man. I just want my kids to make it. So I'm not Durham, Chapel Hill, whoever, man. I just want them to make it.
Well, we end it by going, Pont, you ready for this? If you're gonna walk,
born ready.
Walk on. We're both walk-on, so we end the show with that little bit of play on words or something. But definitely appreciate you, Coach. I'm going to stop the recording, and we can chat a little bit more. So appreciate you guys tuning in.